Greetings, Professor Glass and fellow classmates. This is my video response to discussion question number one. Um, I'm going to tackle question number one, describing a crisis that I had the unfortunate opportunity to have firsthand experience. And this was a couple of years ago, and it involved a youth in our youth group at the time. We were pastoring, and um, we discovered when we went to drop her home and she didn't want to get out of her car that out of our car that she did not want to go home, and she decided to get out the car and go home and ring the doorbell. The father, nobody answered the door, so we had to take her home to us. It was her and her little sister, and it was at that time when we brought her home that so much more was uh, delved out to us about what was going on. It was her and her little sister. She was 18 years old at the time, but she had multiple diagnoses. She had ADHD and bipolar. She was taking medication. The mom was not around, and basically, she operated like the mom in the house. And apparently, the father was just very abusive to them. Um, and we when she spent the night with us, she ended up spending a few more nights with us till we got some intervention. And, it was definitely a crisis because it involved, according to the book, the characteristics of a crisis, where on page 11, it talks about what the characteristics of the crisis are, and it was danger because it overwhelmed her so much she didn't want to go home. And it's not until we kept pressing her that she had gotten out the car, and she went to go ring the doorbell, and the father didn't open the door and pretended he wasn't home. And then when she came home to with us, we got all the information out. Well, some information, I'm sure there was more, out of her as to what was going on. And she was definitely in a dangerous situation. um and she was very pain. She would cry. She was crying as she was talking to us about what was going on. And it was very hurtful. And among other things that were going on with her, she had to um contend with these other things that were going on with her, as far as her diagnosis is, as well as this subsequent abuse that was going on. As far as the intervention, according to the book on page 11, which is what I felt that we did, we intervened by administering. We were pastors. I didn't know anything about any of the psychological jargon, but we administered psychological first aid, where we removed her from the situation. We contacted local agencies to get involved. The police, they came, they got involved. We stabilized her. We stabilized her and created a calm, emotional environment for her while she was staying at our house. She stayed there for about like a week. She wanted to stay with us and live with us, but at the time, it wasn't feasible. We offered practical assistance. We followed up with her. Um, and we were very walking very closely with her, and we linked her with collaborative services to make sure that they were out of harm's way, and that things were being done appropriately. And I believe that was the best intervention to be done at the time, the psychological first aid, that's referenced in the book on page 20 through 21. So we've since had dealt with many other crisis situations, but that was definitely one that has stood out in my memory. And to this day, she moved away. End of story. She moved away. I think she got engaged, but she moved away from this area. We lost contact with her, but the last time we did, were in contact with her, she was doing so much better. They were removed from the home. They were in foster care, but they were with a good family, so things were working out well for them at the time. So that was my experience firsthand with a crisis. And thank you for listening.